we've got some similar names we're going to keep popping up this show, but the summer transfer window is coming to a close. Most teams have made at least a couple of moves. There's been some pretty instant successes, and we're going to go around here and we're going to try and figure out who we think is the best, the biggest, the most impactful summer signing of the 2025 window. Before I try to throw names out there, Mitch, I'm sure you have come to the show with one or two to give us, so I'll let you lead us off here. Who has been the most impactful?
I mean, what's exciting, obviously, is it's a lot of names that we have known before within the league that are returning or changing clubs, record breakers, award winners. But for the fun of it, I'll go with someone new to the league, and that's Lionel Lopez, who we saw score again for York this season. And obviously, the resume speaks for itself, the number of games he's played for top clubs at Liga MX level. But on top of that, I just love the new balance he kind of brings to this York midfield in terms of the different profiles they can bring in. Like, this is a guy who has shown very clearly he can beat players off the dribble and combine very well to, move through the middle of the park there. And obviously 2 goals in 4 games as well. He's going to bring an impact offensively. But I love that, you can now play Yates next to him. You could put Cabato in there as well, or bring Cabato off the bench, who we know, he was nearly a player of the month level. Well, he was playing at a player of the month level. He was probably runner up in terms of last month. So we know what he can do. You can put in an Elijah Adekubi if you want more defensive. And, earlier in the season, especially when Adekubi was out, it felt like they had maybe 2 midfielders and, there wasn't that depth there. So I think the depth he brings, but also, of course, the quality that he's already shown. And it's very early in terms of his integration into the league. So I think by the end of the year, this is going to be a player who's going to have a lot of importance in that positioning race within the CPL and obviously for this York United team.
Yeah, he also brings something different to that York midfield that I don't think any of their other options provide. He's just a bit more creative. He can get forward a little bit more. I mean, Cabato and Yates have been excellent largely this year, but they are maybe more kind of central midfielders, not necessarily going to add that kind of attacking quality or that level of creativity that Lopez has brought. So I think that has really helped elevate this team, especially going forward. So that's a great shout. Mitch. AGR, who else is impressing you as one of the bigger signings of this window?
Yeah, I think I'd stick a little closer to my home here for my pick, and I would go Hugo Mbong at Vancouver. I just really like that signing because, man, you look at a lot of the signings that have made, like he's arguably already made the biggest impact with, I think it's 3 goals, all competitions. Immediately has been thrust into a starting role. He's the number 9. And I think it's just kind of cool because heading in the year, Vancouver had Alejandro Diaz and had Terran Campbell. And there's this whole story of, the 2 leading goal scorers of all time together. Can Vancouver get the goals? And it just didn't work. Diaz left without scoring a goal. Campbell's obviously stuck around. He's finally finding his form a bit, but he still hasn't hit the heights he's wanted. But that Hugo Mbong, who himself, interesting story, right? Young Canadian, couldn't really get his shot at Toronto. His loans to the U.S. didn't work out. Gets a loan closer to his home, closer to his brother, who's obviously playing in the same city, and he's just come in and hit the ground running, and he brings an interesting profile, links the ball up well, back to goal. And I've loved his confidence. Like in one of his first availabilities, someone kind of asked him, like, what's your goal for the season? And most players will always laugh at you, like, haha, but I'm not going to tell you. And he's like, oh, I have goals. And then he was pressed on. He's like, I want to score 10 goals. And he almost laughed, like, 10 goals, like you're joining in mid-July. And it's you're on a team that's scored the fewest in the league, but then all of a sudden he's looking like a guy who could score 10 because he looks like he has a hat trick in him. It is the year of the hat trick after all. So just shout out to him, Bong, because he feels like one of those Canadian soccer stories you want to see a bit more of in the Canadian Premier League, like guys who just aren't able to find their space for whatever reason, but they're still supremely talented. It's nice to see them get these opportunities at 20, 21 and not wait till 24, 25 like they might have in the past. So I think there's just a lot of layers to why I really like that Mbong story. And hopefully he can either score and stick with Toronto going forward or, come back and really become a figurehead next year, a la Altabelli, who kind of had a similar situation where he just couldn't crack that Toronto first team.
Yeah, that's a great shout. And again, kind of the CPL working as intended, right? Where a young player can come in and play those professional minutes. It's occurring to me though, as we talk about how many, all these summer transfers, is just how many of them there are. Like, we haven't really mentioned Dan Klomp yet. Comes back to Cavalry, and we don't even need to mention him because probably everybody who's watching or listening to this show knows who Dan Klomp is and what he can do for Cavalry. Um, there's been just so many names across the league. I mean, Forge, we still haven't really seen their new signing, Leotifis, pretty highly rated Greek. I think he's only 21 as well, and it's certainly in the mold of Forge to kind of find a fairly unknown player from Europe that they turn into something pretty impressive. Benedict in our private chat here reminds me that Emil Gazdov, who I think is on the thumbnail for this segment, we haven't mentioned, and
Fourth wall.
exactly. Yeah, I broken the fourth wall there and kind of brought you guys inside our process, which is producer Benedict telling us the real answers. But yeah, that's another great shout as well, especially when Valor were in a place where Jonathan Viscosi was injured, and it seems like he's going to miss a lot of time. Ilya Himeras was suspended for a while, so they're turning to guys like Callum Weir, who was in on a emergency contract, who did well, by the way, but isn't quite at the level of the reigning goalkeeper of the year in the Canadian Premier League. So Gazdov comes in on loan, and he's obviously instant impact. I guess on the window as a whole, Mitch, can you remember a CPL midseason transfer window that's been this fun or this interesting? I struggle to think of many cases at all of a player coming in and making an impact like this. We had Babuli do it. Benny Badibanga did it when he first arrived in the league. Just have you, can you remember anything quite like this?
Not to this extent, like across the league, and I think it just shows the competitiveness with which we are in season 7 in the Canadian Premier League. That at this point in the season, you almost have to be adding, or you're really falling back in the pack because again, everyone else is going to go out and recruit and find some new players, and the number of returning players or shifting players, like again, I think that's a positive as well, that people see this as a long-term viable place to play and a place they want to return to. Maybe if things aren't going the best in different situations, or if if they again, just knowing that what to expect at this point within the league and becoming household names there. I think that that's really exciting, and that's been a big push and big storyline for the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we hear coaches talk about it all the time, especially this year, it seems. These teams play each other 4 times at least in a year, right? So there is just an intrinsic value in being different the third, fourth time you play a team. And that is, kind of making these games a little bit more interesting. These teams are finally able to throw a little bit more at each other that they're not quite familiar with. And that's making for some better, some more attacking, maybe some slightly more intriguing football as we head towards the end of the season.